I'm not really too concerned about getting the light grays right now as much as I am getting the solid blacks that you know are on the reference, on the stencil on the skin right now. Once I get those on, I can look at the reference later, and I can definitely get the you know the lighter grays and the midtones that I need just based on where they show on the reference. Here we are with the NIMAG still. Got most of my darks in right now, so I'm start pushing some of my darker shadows between the eye and the eyebrow. I'm using the NIMAG because I feel like this is the ideal tool for this area. It's a little tight, so I'm able to get around without going into areas where I don't want to be. That's the beauty of setting up 4 machines. You can, you know, you have one for every size or every little part of the job. Please keep in mind also that you know, I'm making a couple more passes than I usually do, but I'm barely breaking the skin right now. I'm just building up my grays, trying to get to the, you know, the proper tone that I need without going too dark, or you know, like right here, I need to go a little darker to emphasize the nose and the eye socket, and so that's what I'm doing. Definitely needs a little bit more black above the eye, between the eye and the eyebrow. So I'm going to get back in there and tighten that up in a second. Also, notice when I need it to be dark, you know, I stretch the skin out. I slow my hand down. I don't make such wide like movements as far as circles or lines, and I just spend a little bit more time and try to get there on the first pass. Right here, I'm you know, I turn my mag on the side, and I'm just using those 2 in the corner just to give it a little bit more you know, depth and really tighten up on certain areas where it needs to be, you know, smaller as far as the shading goes. Getting some life in the eye. Still using the NIMAG. Spent a lot of time turning on its side and just using those 2 needles just to, you know, get some tight areas. I mean, I'm gonna definitely get through here with the 5 at the end and tighten up the areas I need to, especially like around the pupil and stuff like that. But for right now, you know, the 9 is sufficient. I'm familiar with it. Gonna go ahead and start doing some eyelashes. I think it's key that they don't look too bold, so using the mag again. Stretching the skin out, getting some darks. All right, I think it's getting pretty close. I'm gonna pull out the 5 and tighten up a couple little parts of the eye that need to be touched. A couple of little bottom parts of the eyelash to give some more, you know, a little more thickness on the bottom. Some of the eyeball itself, and I think we hit a little bit of this lid right here just to separate the black, so you can actually see the fold going over the eye. Get that pupil a little black. The little things that you see, just don't want to spend too much time on it, you know, because you know, you could definitely chew them up a lot faster with a round than you can a mag, I think. But I think we're pretty close on that eye right now. I'm happy with it. I'm gonna jump over to 25 now and start building up some grays coming from the hair to the eyebrow. I mean, we already have like a really nice image just based on the background shading of the hair. The face already has a really nice shape on the right side, and so we'll just start tying this in with the 25, building up our grays, not getting in there with anything too dark right now. We're just gonna work our way up, being patient, moving our hand, Not spending too much time in the skin at once. Just we're moving around pretty fast, so we don't get any dots or anything that we don't want in there. Using the 25 again because it's the white area. A little bit of darker shadows now coming through. Still tying in the grays with the 25. Checking my reference to make sure everything's looking good, which it is. Notice on this side I didn't come off any of the black with any soft gray or anything. Reason for that is because of the depth between the hair and the cheek. Like up top you can look and you can see that from the hair to the forehead, it's obviously coming off of the forehead. But behind, the cheekbone, you have a couple of inches where the hair is not touching the cheek. And especially with the glare of the cheekbone, which this piece has a lot, I went ahead and kept it clean. If I did just, need to have to put some grays in there, and I went through with the 25, and I did have a valley within it, then I could get back in there with the 11 and just smooth it out really, really easily. All right, so the top of the eye is looking pretty good. I'm going to start building the bottom of it. Some of my stencil, was erased because wiping and tattooing around the area, but I got most of it in there, and I'm being careful. I'm getting in there with the lightest wash that I can, and I'm just gonna slowly build it up like layers. Building up the undershadows for the eyelashes. Really feel good about this part of the tattoo. I think it can add a lot to this tattoo. It's gonna bring a lot of depth to the eyes with the shadows. As I'm going, I'm looking at the other places that need to be done, and I'm also checking to make sure, as you add different tones and different shades, you might realize, like, okay, you need a little bit more gray here, a little bit more there, but that's the beauty of tattooing this way. Not getting in there and just smashing in all your darks and just pushing your lights in to build it up. You're able to get, I think, a lot more of various shades and tones, and it really works, especially for realistic tattoos. Building up some of my darks on the under shadows for the eyelashes. And again, the only way I'd be able to do that is by getting there with my lights first and then building on top of them. Getting back in there with the side of the mag with some straight black, trying to build some depth for the eye. Some more of the shadows of the eyelashes. Now I'm just doing a little bit of gray here and there where it needs to be done, just to keep the shadowing going throughout the whole eye. Not really paying too much attention to all the light grays that's going to be around it, just the grays that are within the eye socket that we're working on right now. Pretty much all I'm concentrating on right now is about from the eyebrow down to about the bottom of the eyelash shadows. All right, I think we're pretty close with this eye. I'm pretty happy with it. Really, the only way we're going to be able to tell is when we start shading the rest of the face and see how it ties in. So let's get that 25 out and get busy with some light wash next to the cheek. Coming through with the really light wash, not spending too much time on it, just breaking the skin, just going to build it up as we go. All right, so I'm just brushing in some soft gray around the eye. Just soften it up, just to, bring it more into the face so it's not just a floating eye. I see a lot of people do that with lips and eyes. They don't really see the under shadows that are actually there, but If you unfocus your eyes and you concentrate a little bit more and look, you can actually see the hidden tones up behind that help tie it into the whole piece itself. All right, now I'm getting in there with the light wash and just coming right off that edge right there, trying to get rid of that stiffness between the cheek and the hairline, and also giving a little separation between the cheek and the neck. Just coming through, using the edge of the 25 actually now. So again, doing a lot of work with the edge of the mags, a lot of it. Kind of brushing in where that flow line comes through, so you can still see the neck, but definitely coming through with a lot lighter wash. Really starting to see the image now on the whole right side. The eye's about 95% done, so I'm happy with that. Gonna start separating the cheek from actually from the actual shadow of the cheekbone now, using the 9 mag. It's kind of a tight area, so I switched over from the 25 to the 9, which is really convenient. Still coming through, building up my soft grays, using the 9 mag. I feel it's it's still a tight little area right here, so I think the 25 would be a little too big. I might end up outside the shading line, so I'm not using it. But, now I'm going to come through with my darker wash. I'm leaving a little line or a little area on the edges that are still soft. That way they can blend into the soft grays that I'm going to introduce once I come through with the 25 on the rest of the face. All right, I think the cheek's fairly good now, so we're going to grab the 25 and start introducing the soft grays from the rest of the face into the cheek. Coming through with a really light wash also. Keep in mind also that once you've put down some darks and some blacks in the piece, it is harder to see the soft grays, especially the lightest shade that we're looking for right now. So you got to almost just trust yourself that you're making a couple passes on the skin, you're using the right wash, and you got to give it a couple minutes, and if you need to get back in there after and make appropriate changes, then do it. But I think it's better to give it the time and see how it looks in a couple minutes than to get in there and make a mistake. All right, let's get back on the 9 mag now and start magging in these noses. I'm going to start with the nostril. I'm going to turn the mag on the side and just use the corner and start getting our blacks from the bottom of both nostrils. A lot of cast shadow on this piece, so there's going to be a lot of black in the under shadow of the nose. But really, I'm just making sure we don't lose our stencil right now. So I'm going to come through. I'm going to hit the nose. I'm going to hit this line on the lip. And again, I turn my mag on its side, and I'm just following the line all the way through, the center line in between the lips. Just keeping the same direction back and forth, making sure it's in there nice and solid. Still checking my reference constantly, making sure that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Here I'm just building up some darks that I need in the lips. I normally start when I do lips with one side and get it, about 50-60%, and then I'll jump back to the top and start building them up together. So that's what I'm doing here. Getting my darks in there first, and then I'll start putting in, building up my grays from there. Get back in with my dark wash now, and I'm going to start building up some dark areas on the top of the lips. Now that we got our nice mid-tone that we need. Again, been doing this with no line work. You know, it's funny because when I first apprenticed, that was the first thing that they taught me was solid outline every single line that you can, and then fill everything in after. And I guess, that's a good way to learn, as far as maybe like traditional style but this is definitely the style that I've created for myself, and I enjoy doing realism. And even if I'm not doing realism, even if I'm doing something simple, if you want to make it soft, a solid hard outline definitely hardens up the image. And if you keep it soft and you build it up from there, I think it definitely creates a softer and, in my opinion, a more beautiful piece. So now we're going to start building the shadows from under the nose to the lip. I'm coming through with like a medium wash, and I'm gonna start building it up, being that it's a soft piece, it's a soft, part of the tattoo. So we're definitely not going to get in there with our darks first. We're just gonna, right here is our really light wash with the 9 mag again, and we're just gonna start building it up again till we get to the tones that we need. Using a lot of the corners of the mag right here, turn them on the side, getting things where I need them to be. Again, taking the shadow all the way down to the lip, not leaving a little space like a lot of people do just because they assume that there's a space in between there. You got to follow your reference. I'm just really trying to build the shadows right now, not really concentrating on everything else, just building up the really deep shadows a little bit at a time. I'll work on the other grays around them in a minute. Not really moving my hand too fast or in a hurry, just concentrating. Get back in there with some solid black now. Just trying to, raise the contrast, build the depths. Just making a quick brush over. Go ahead and wipe the tattoo down, see where we're at right now. We definitely have our darks and our mid-tones in there. We don't have our soft grays yet, so, it's not as soft as we want it, but I really, I feel like we're getting some progress and getting towards our goal. I lost on my stencil right here, so I'm going to, I'm going to pull out my pen and look at the reference and draw back on. I've made the mistake in my past of thinking, oh well, this is where it's supposed to be, and just doing it with my with the machine, and a couple little errors, and the piece is totally not what it used to be. So now I just keep a pen on my station, and just a little disposable. I'll draw it on somebody, or even a skin graft, disposable thing, and it's just convenient if I need it, and if not, then oh well, it's only 10 cents. I'm bringing in some soft grays now. Start tying that nose into the piece. Keep in mind, when I first started tattooing, I questioned my stuff a lot, especially once I found this style for me. The really high contrast, a lot of black, a lot of whites, and mid-tones and stuff. And it was kind of hard for me to trust myself and just tell myself, I know it looks a little crazy now, but you keep following what you're supposed to be doing, and step by step, you're going to get, to an amazing tattoo. And it took a little while, but I feel like I'm able to look past what it looks like now and go for the finished product. And so if you see something that looks like, oh man, that looks kind of crazy, just pay attention on that spot, because as I'm going layer by layer and building them up, they quickly come to life. So introducing some soft grays into the under part of the cheek. And again, remember when I left the cheek shadow nice and loose? I got in there with the midtones and started building up my darks. The reason was, so I can tie it into this gray without without having like a bad transition, and being that I got in there and then built my darks, but not right to the edge. I feel like we're getting a really nice blend, which is what we're going for. Still brushing in my soft grays, my 25. Just going in there with my lightest and working them way up. As I'm doing this, I'm starting to realize that my cheek under shadow isn't as dark as I really want to. So I'm going to get back in there with the 25 with the dark medium wash and start building that up a little bit more. But the only way I was able to notice that is by putting the grays behind it and actually seeing how they sit in front of it. But again, better to leave it as is than to think that I was at it, at the right level of shading before and be too dark. So I'm pretty happy with the tone that we got now for the cheeks. So I'm gonna start pushing in the behind the ear and by the lips. Definitely want to put some contrast behind the little skull image. Even if there wasn't the shadowing in the reference, I would add it anyways, just based on the fact that he's in front of the girl, and I wanna add some depth to this piece. Using the 15 mag right now. Got a little bit more room here, and really like using a 15 when I can. I'm just putting down like a foundation to some of my blacks right now. I put down some grays, and it was a nice dark tone right there. And now I'm gonna come through with the 15 with a solid black and just start sculpting in some darks. Still haven't ran a line yet on this piece. A couple by the eyes, just but for the most part, it's just been magged in. And I don't know if I will if it will need lines at the end, but I'll go over it and see if anything needs tightened up. For the most part, I'm pretty happy with the way it's looking. I jump back and forth on areas that I think need a little bit more darks here and there instead of doing it at the end, because I don't want my client to go through unnecessary pain. So as I'm going, I'm always checking to make sure that areas around what I'm working on are looking like they're supposed to on the reference also. Using the edge of the mag right here to follow the line up. Getting some darks right there, and then it just kind of like tapers off at the edge up top. But you see how I got in there with some solid black, but it still looks really soft because I got down with those midtones first, and then I came through with the black from the edge and just kind of built on top of it.